I'm J. Lenore Bressler, and welcome to the June 18, 2017 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. Happy Father's Day. Did it occur to you that we should say Happy Father's Day to our Heavenly Father? Oh yes, He is a Father not only of Jesus Christ, but of all of the children of God, and that hopefully includes you and me as believers. So happy Father's Day to the Lord Almighty. We are in a multiple session series on Psalms, and today we want to talk about Psalm 23. Now, many of you know that this is probably what I'm asked to speak on at various churches and religious-based business conferences. And I talk about Psalm 23 and how every single phrase is a professional shepherding term. And when you know that, that just comes alive in a whole new way, especially when you realize that it is not necessarily or even primarily about death, despite the fact that it talks about the valley of the shadow of death, but it is primarily about life and how we are to live life with the shepherd, and that it really is the story of the life of a sheep from one year to the next, starting in the spring, moving up to the summer and fall, and then back in the winter to home base. But since I have done that before on the Bible Delight in the Details, and most assuredly will at some point do it again, I want to just focus in on a couple things, and that is what some of the things that I talked about to my own Sunday school class this very morning. The word psalm means a praise associated with a melody, and we should never forget that the Psalms were the hymn book of ancient Israel. And I bring that up specifically today because this is attributed to David. Most scholars think that it is absolutely was written by David. When exactly, we're not sure. Possibly when he was a young shepherd, probably, or possibly later, as he looked back on his shepherding days and recognized how very apt it was that God, through all of his prophets, talked about the kings of Israel being like a shepherd. Of course, Jesus would bring this all around to full fruition when in John chapter 10, that beautiful long passage where he talks in great detail about him being the ultimate shepherd, the good shepherd. But back to the idea of singing this. Singing the Psalms, I don't know about you, but sometimes music expresses things in such a deeper, more passionate, more crystallizing way than words ever could. And this is from someone who considers herself a wordsmith, a writer, and a professional speaker. I love words. I love the cadence of words. I love to hear someone with a beautiful voice speaking. But as much as I love all of that, I know that no matter how eloquent or how well spoken someone is, it really can't beat singing. There is an underlying emotional height or depth that can be reached in singing that just cannot be reached generally in the spoken word or even in the written word, much as I love both. So I want you to think about these Psalms, and particularly Psalm 23, which is so meaningful to so many people, being sung. Michael Card is just one of many Christian composers who have tried to put a melody to Psalm 23. And I have posted on Facebook a YouTube recitation of his version, which I loved so much that it was actually sung in my wedding. And I just, every time I hear it, I feel very, very close to God. And you can feel the emotional pull of Psalm 23. One thing I want you to think about when you listen to this Michael Card version, and there are others by other artists which I'm sure are also good, but I just really love this particular one. One thing I want you to think about is this. Psalm 23 is about relationship. It's obviously about our relationship with God and seeing Him as this loving, very energetic, very involved and interactive and proactive shepherd. And it's all about how He reacts to us and how we can and should be reacting to Him. Well, that's called a relationship. And in any relationship, in order for there to be true satisfaction and true ultimate meaning, you have to have two things. You have to have the head and the heart. You know, if you are involved in a relationship where it's all about the head, it's all about logic and reasoning and, all the cerebral stuff, that's great. And that can be very exciting and very meaningful. But if there's no real connection on an emotional level, it's going to at some point feel very cold. Kind of like Mr. Spock on Star Trek. There's just going to feel like there is a huge, huge component that's missing. On the other hand, if any relationship is based solely on emotion, then that is bound to feel at some point shallow and without substance, and too prone to the vagaries and the vicissitudes, as they say, or changes in our emotional state and our happiness quotient at the moment, which sadly is so impacted by so many small things. And what you need for lasting, deep, meaningful, satisfying relationships is a combination of the head and the heart. And what I love about Psalm 23 is that there is great substance there. There's great theological doctrine there. But there's also pulsing underneath the surface, and maybe not so far under the surface, this heartbeat. You can almost hear the heartbeat of God and of the psalmist beating almost in one accord. I think about, what a shepherd does. A shepherd often takes a lamb who is scared or frightened or just going through a difficult time and picks them up and holds them close to his very heart. And if you've ever had that experience where you've just been so close to someone, maybe to a child or even an animal, when you lay down, put your head on your dog's a chest or something, you can feel their heartbeat. I just feel like Psalm 23, and there are some other places in the Bible I feel like this too, but Psalm 23 for so many of us feels like the very heartbeat of God and the very heartbeat of man. I'm J. Lenora Bressler, hoping that you'll listen to Michael Card's beautiful musical rendition of Psalm 23, and remember that once upon a time, these words were being sung to the glory of God on the Temple Mount, and first they were sung by a shepherd boy who would become king. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me tomorrow in the next edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details.